Now, the Sean Diddy Combs investigation. New surveillance video shows Combs being taken into custody in a Manhattan hotel last week.
Diddy, the music mogul who seemed untouchable, is now behind bars, sharing a prison with none other than R. Kelly. But what's even more shocking, R. Kelly's reaction to Diddy's fall from grace. Could their connection be darker than anyone ever imagined? Diddy's arrest stuns the world. On the evening of September 17, 2024, the music world was rocked as Diddy, one of the most influential figures in hip-hop, was arrested in a high-profile raid. He was apprehended at the luxurious Park Hyatt Hotel in New York, an unexpected setting for such a dramatic downfall. But what really stunned the public wasn't just the arrest itself, it was the list of charges and the details that followed, leaving fans and critics alike in disbelief. Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs, faced serious accusations involving sexual misconduct and even sex trafficking. It wasn't the first time his name had been linked to controversy, but these charges were far darker and more sinister than anyone could have anticipated. And here's the kicker, he wasn't caught completely off guard. Rumor has it that he had relocated to New York in the weeks leading up to his arrest, as if anticipating the legal storm that was about to hit. When Diddy appeared in a New York City federal courtroom, he wasn't in his usual flashy attire. Instead, he stood before the judge wearing a black t-shirt and gray sweatpants, a far cry from his typical high-fashion persona. Despite his calm demeanor, the gravity of the situation was clear. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges brought against him, but it wasn't enough to sway the court. In a shocking turn, Diddy was denied bail, something his high-powered lawyers didn't see coming. They had proposed an extravagant bail package that included his $48 million mansion in Miami and even his private jet. His legal team went as far as offering strict visitation rules, allowing only female family members like his mother and daughters to visit him. But the judge saw through it, citing Diddy as a serious flight risk and even suggesting he might tamper with witnesses if given the chance. It became clear that Diddy's carefully curated public image was crumbling and fast. The court saw him not as the smooth entrepreneur, but as someone capable of much darker things. His legal team threw everything at the judge in hopes of securing bail. They even offered a $50 million bond, co-signed by his own family. Yet, in the eyes of the law, Diddy was too big a risk to release, especially with rumors of obstruction of justice swirling around him. Diddy is now being held in the Metropolitan Detention Center, a notorious jail that has housed some of the most infamous criminals in the country. This isn't a cozy white-collar facility. MDC is known for its inhumane conditions, and it's far from what you'd expect for a mogul used to living in mansions and flying on private jets. Shockingly, R. Kelly, another music legend facing his own legal battles, was also held in the same prison. The connections between the two extend far beyond their shared fame. Could this be the beginning of a much darker chapter for Diddy, one that mirrors R. Kelly's own tragic downfall? The details of the charges are damning. Diddy is facing a 3-count indictment that includes racketeering, sex trafficking, and conspiracy. According to the indictment, from as far back as 2008, Diddy allegedly used his business empire as a front for a criminal enterprise. The allegations include everything from trafficking women across state lines to coercing them into violent sex acts. Some reports even mention so-called freak-offs, elaborate days-long parties involving sex workers and drugs. If that wasn't shocking enough, Diddy allegedly used violence and intimidation to maintain control over the women involved, threatening to cut them off financially if they didn't comply. The indictment paints a picture of a man who didn't just thrive off power but use it to exploit and abuse. And while he's pleaded not guilty, the evidence continues to mount. Homeland Security agents raided 2 of his properties, which has led many to believe that investigators are far from done digging. Diddy's life seems to be unraveling in real time, with each new revelation more shocking than the last. Could it be that this arrest is just the tip of the iceberg? Is there more that the public doesn't yet know? And if Diddy has more skeletons in his closet, what will be revealed next? R. Kelly breaks silence to defend Diddy. When news of Diddy's arrest broke, one of the most unexpected reactions came from none other than R. Kelly, another fallen giant of the music industry. For years, the two stars have shared not only fame and fortune, but a close personal relationship. Yet, as R. Kelly sits in his own prison cell, convicted of sex trafficking and multiple other charges, many were shocked to see him defend Diddy so publicly. In an interview from jail, R. Kelly did not hold back. He outright rejected the accusations against Diddy, calling them bullshit, and insisting that people were blowing things out of proportion. "You could tell me anything about Puffy," Kelly said, "and I still won't believe it. I'm in this now, and I know what they did." His defense of Diddy came off as not just surprising but desperate, as though Kelly himself was trying to protect something or someone. But what was it? Was he afraid that Diddy might expose some deep secrets about their past, or was it simply a case of solidarity between two men facing similar charges? Whatever the reason, Kelly's bold stance left many questioning his motives. After all, Diddy and Kelly's cases have eerie similarities. Both men have been accused of manipulating and abusing women, using their power and influence to cover up years of predatory behavior, and both have fallen from grace in dramatic fashion. But while Kelly now sits in prison, his career and legacy shattered, Diddy's legal battle has just begun. Is it possible that Kelly knows more about Diddy's alleged crimes than he's letting on? Or is he simply trying to stir the pot and shift focus away from his own scandals? This isn't the first time R. Kelly has inserted himself into Diddy's controversies. Back in April, as rumors about Diddy's involvement in sex trafficking began circulating, Kelly made a similar defense. He claimed that the federal investigation into Diddy was nothing but a witch hunt, and accused the media of blowing everything out of proportion, but prosecutors saw it differently. According to Nadia Shihada, a federal prosecutor involved in Kelly's case, the raids on Diddy's property signaled that investigators were closing in on him. She advised Diddy's legal team to be very concerned about what the feds might uncover. Now, months later, it's clear that Shihada was right. Diddy's arrest wasn't just a fluke, it was the result of a long, ongoing investigation. But Kelly's fierce defense raises more questions than it answers. Why would Kelly go out of his way to defend someone facing charges so similar to his own? Could it be that their bond goes deeper than friendship? That they were both involved in something far darker than anyone realized? Even as Kelly continues to insist on Diddy's innocence, the facts of the case paint a troubling picture. Diddy is facing some of the same charges that landed Kelly behind bars: racketeering, sex trafficking, and conspiracy. MDC's nightmare conditions exposed. Diddy's arrest didn't just make headlines because of the charges, it also shined a light on the horrifying conditions of the jail where he's being held, the Metropolitan Detention Center. Located in the heart of Brooklyn, the MDC is infamous for its nightmarish conditions, earning it the nickname Hell on Earth. This isn't some cushy white-collar prison for celebrities, it's a brutal facility known for its overcrowded cells, rampant violence, and inhumane treatment of inmates. And it's here, behind these bars, that Diddy and R. Kelly now find themselves. The MDC's reputation is well-deserved. Over the years, inmates have reported appalling conditions, from rodent infestations and freezing temperatures to complete power outages that left prisoners without heat, light, or hot water for days on end. In fact, back in 2019, the prison made national news when a power outage during one of the coldest winters in recent memory caused temperatures in the cells to drop to near freezing levels. Inmates were forced to wrap themselves in towels and blankets just to stay warm. Protesters gathered outside the facility, banging on the walls and shining flashlights in a desperate plea for help, but the situation only highlighted the sheer neglect and brutality that happens behind those walls. It's a place where violence is a constant threat, not just from fellow inmates, but from the guards themselves. Correctional officers have been accused of beating prisoners, turning a blind eye to attacks, and even encouraging the violent atmosphere. The facility has seen an alarming number of suicides and murders over the years, with inmates driven to desperation by the hopelessness and despair that permeates every cell. The conditions are so appalling that some federal judges have outright refused to send prisoners there, calling it inhumane. Yet despite its horrific reputation, this is where Diddy is now being held. For a man used to living in luxury, flying on private jets, and hosting elaborate parties, the MDC is a far cry from the lifestyle he's accustomed to. His legal team has already begun calling the jail inhuman, echoing the words of countless inmates who have spoken out about the conditions inside. R. Kelly, who is also housed in the MDC, had similar complaints during his stay. He described the prison as a place designed to break people. Kelly alleged that he was denied access to basic necessities, including clean drinking water and medical care. He even claimed that some guards took pleasure in tormenting him, knowing who he was and relishing in his fall from grace. Whether these allegations are true or not, they reflect the harsh reality of what goes on behind those prison walls. But the fact that two of the biggest names in the music industry, Diddy and R. Kelly, are both being held in such a notorious facility has raised eyebrows. What are the odds that two of the most powerful men in hip-hop would end up sharing the same fate? And how will Diddy, a man known for his control and influence, handle life in a place where power means nothing and survival is all that matters? Diddy's darkest secrets. As the investigation into Diddy's life continues, more shocking details have come to light about his alleged criminal activities. The charges he's facing aren't just about financial crimes or mismanagement, they involve some of the most serious accusations imaginable, including sex trafficking and violent abuse. And according to the indictment, Diddy didn't just engage in these crimes, he orchestrated them using his vast business empire to cover up years of exploitation and abuse. The indictment accuses Diddy of leading a criminal enterprise that stretched across multiple states, dating back to 2008. This alleged enterprise wasn't just about business, it was a carefully structured operation designed to enable and conceal his crimes. One of the most disturbing claims involves events known as freak-offs, wild multi-day sex parties that allegedly involved male and female sex workers. Some of these workers were reportedly transported across state lines, making the charges even more severe under federal law. But it doesn't end there. The indictment alleges that Diddy used violence and intimidation to ensure compliance from the women involved. Those who tried to resist or speak out were reportedly met with threats, both physical and financial. Some were allegedly threatened with the release of compromising recordings, which Diddy supposedly used as leverage to keep them silent. These recordings, reportedly taken at these freak-off events, could expose even more dark secrets about what went on behind closed doors. What's even more shocking is the extent to which Diddy allegedly involved his employees in these crimes. According to the indictment, his personal assistants, security team, and even high-ranking executives in his businesses played a role in enabling his behavior. These individuals reportedly helped arrange travel, stock hotel rooms with supplies, and even covered up Diddy's abusive behavior. In one particularly disturbing incident mentioned in the court documents, a 2016 hotel surveillance video allegedly shows Diddy physically assaulting his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The footage reportedly captures Diddy grabbing Cassie by the neck and throwing her to the ground, an image that shocked even those familiar with his history of volatile relationships. For now, the major charge against P. Diddy, according to this indictment, is a racketeering conspiracy, and this one is massive. It is not just about Diddy doing bad things on his own. This charge accuses him of leading an entire organized group to commit crimes. Whether it was to make money, fulfill his personal desires, or maintain his public image, Diddy allegedly had a network of people helping him break the law. According to the government, this was not just some spontaneous bad behavior. He had an orchestrated operation to serve his interests. Racketeering is a serious charge. It means the government believes that Diddy had a team of individuals committing various crimes to benefit him. He is not being charged with every single crime, like kidnapping or assault, but those crimes are considered part of something bigger. The prosecution is making the case that Diddy was not acting alone and that his actions were calculated to keep his empire intact. Some of these accusations even match up with claims made by Diddy's former producer, Rodney Little Jones. Jones has filed a sexual assault lawsuit against Diddy and has alleged that there was much more going on behind the scenes. There is also physical evidence to back up these charges. During a raid on Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles properties, federal agents found drugs in over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. This is a disturbing proof that aligns with the victims' testimonies. The moment the details about the ridiculous amount of lubricant came out, the internet lost it. Social media lit up with jokes, and even celebrities could not resist poking fun. Whoopi Goldberg and Alyssa Farah Griffith cracked jokes about it on The View. Whoopi mentioned that having lubricant is not illegal, and she is right. There is nothing criminal about having a bottle or two in your home, but seriously, 1,000 bottles? That's not your typical grocery store run. Nobody is stocking up that much for a quiet night in. The thing is, while the lube itself is not illegal, it is what it represents that makes this story disturbing. According to the charges, Diddy was allegedly organizing freak-offs, which are wild parties that reportedly involved underage girls and non-consenting individuals. Suddenly, the massive stockpile of lubricant is not so funny anymore. It could be tied to these horrendous activities, making this whole situation a lot more sinister and unsettling. Let's be real for a second. What kind of monster would do this? Diddy's influence and wealth gave him the power to manipulate people, and it looks like he used that power in the worst way possible. And it is not just the lubricant. During the raids, authorities also found firearms, drugs, and tapes, lots of tapes. Diddy apparently had cameras set up all around his homes, recording everything that went down. Why? Maybe he was keeping dirt on others, holding it over their heads as leverage, or maybe he was so twisted that he recorded these horrifying acts to brag about his power, to boast about the illegal and depraved activities happening under his roof. Whatever his reason, those tapes are now coming back to haunt him. They are no longer his trophies, they are the evidence that could finally bring him down. While the indictment reveals many more shocking details, there are still gaps. For instance, it leaves out some of the civil complaints involving minors, despite rumors about their involvement in Diddy's infamous parties. However, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams hinted that more charges could be on the way, so this case is far from over. In another twist, Diddy allegedly tried to bribe a hotel security worker with a stack of cash to keep the footage under wraps, but despite his best efforts to hide these incidents, the evidence seems to be catching up with him. Prosecutors have made it clear that they believe Diddy's business empire wasn't just built on music and fashion, it was built on a foundation of fear, intimidation, and violence, and now for the first time it seems like that empire is beginning to crumble. What makes this story even more shocking is the sheer number of people involved in helping Diddy maintain control over his victims, from personal assistants to household staff. The indictment alleges that Diddy's entire inner circle was aware of his crimes and played a role in concealing them. As these secrets continue to unravel, how deep does Diddy's criminal empire really go? The truth behind Biggie and Tupac's deaths. While the sex trafficking and abuse allegations against Diddy are shocking on their own, there's another chapter of his story that's just as dark, and it involves the unsolved murders of two of the biggest names in hip-hop, Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. For years, rumors have swirled around Diddy's possible involvement in these killings, and now, new information has come to light that could finally answer some long-standing questions. Let's start with Tupac. The rivalry between Tupac and Diddy's Bad Boy Records wasn't just an East Coast versus West Coast feud, it was personal. The beef escalated after Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, a diss track that viciously attacked Diddy and his protege Biggie. According to reports, Diddy didn't take the track lightly and put a hit on Tupac. One of the most notorious claims comes from Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records and someone who was close to Tupac. Suge has repeatedly claimed that Diddy offered $1 million for someone to take out Tupac. Suge Knight was not just any casual observer either, he was in the car with Tupac when the rapper was shot and killed in Las Vegas in 1996. According to Suge, Diddy not only wanted Tupac gone, but also him. This claim has fueled conspiracy theories for years, and many people in the hip-hop world have said that they have similar suspicions. One key figure who has also linked Diddy to the murder is Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who was charged in 2023 with orchestrating Tupac's murder. Keefe D's connection to Diddy has only made this matter worse for Diddy. In his interviews with law enforcement and in his memoir Compton Street Legend, Keefe D claims that Diddy offered him $1 million to handle both Tupac and Suge Knight. According to Keefe D, Diddy was terrified of Suge and wanted to make sure that the Death Row Records CEO would not come after him. The night of Tupac's murder, Keefe D says that he and his crew acted on Diddy's orders, ambushing the car Tupac and Suge were riding in and opening fire. Then in a 2009 police interview, Keefe D claimed that Diddy openly talked about wanting Suge dead in front of a large group of people. Keefe D recalled Diddy saying that he would do anything for that dude's head. That's not exactly a vague comment, and according to Keefe D, this was around the peak of the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Tensions were sky high, and it would not be hard to believe that both sides were contemplating how to deal with their enemies. Despite all these allegations, Diddy has never been officially charged with any involvement in Tupac's murder. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has stated multiple times that Diddy has never been considered a suspect. Diddy, for his part, has consistently denied any role in the murder. He has gone on record stating that neither he nor Biggie had anything to do with Tupac's death. But the speculation refuses to die down. The recent arrest of Keefe D in connection with Tupac's murder in 2023 reignited the rumors about Diddy's involvement. Court documents revealed that Keefe D had once again implicated Diddy, claiming that after the shooting, Diddy asked him if the Southside Crips were responsible for Tupac's death. Keefe D proudly told him yes. To make matters even more complicated, Keefe D also claimed that Diddy owed him and his crew money for carrying out the hit. He described how he met with one of Diddy's associates at a restaurant in Los Angeles expecting to get paid, but the money never came through. This alleged betrayal left Keefe D and his crew feeling bitter. According to Keefe D, these conversations weren't just hearsay, but part of a deal struck at Greenblatt's Deli on the Sunset Strip, where Diddy allegedly laid out his deadly plans. While Diddy has consistently denied these allegations, Keefe D's testimony has brought the issue back into the spotlight, and with the recent arrest of a suspect in Tupac's case, speculation is mounting that Keefe D might testify against Diddy. In multiple interviews, Deal has claimed that Diddy knew Biggie was going to be targeted the night he was killed. According to Deal, Diddy received a tip that there would be a shooting at the party they were attending, but chose to ignore it. What's more, Deal believes that Diddy deliberately stayed out of harm's way, leaving Biggie vulnerable to the attack. He's even suggested that Diddy might have had ulterior motives, as Biggie was allegedly planning to leave Bad Boy for a new, more lucrative contract. Deal claimed that Biggie had confided in him about a $60 million deal he was about to sign, which would have completely changed the landscape of the music industry and left Diddy in the shadows. These allegations have sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Could it really be that Diddy, who publicly mourned Biggie's death and built much of his career off the tragedy, was involved in setting up his own friend? And if Biggie was indeed planning to leave Bad Boy, would his death have been a strategic move to protect Diddy's empire? Deal's accusations take it even further, suggesting that Diddy may have known all along that Biggie wouldn't survive that night, and intentionally put him in harm's way. What makes this even more chilling is the idea that Diddy could have been manipulating the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry for his own gain, playing both sides to protect his position at the top of the industry. Could this be the dark truth behind two of hip-hop's most infamous murders? Do you think Diddy's arrest is just the beginning of an even bigger downfall, or will he find a way to escape justice? Let us know in the comments. If this shocked you, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more updates on this explosive case. You won't believe what's coming next.